Hello, everyone, and thank you for watching another episode of Agent X podcast. I've got a really exciting guest in the studio with me today, and we're talking about Marc Russ. So I'll give Marc Russ, Marc, if you want to say hi now, you go ahead, but I'm going to give you a nice introduction.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, hello. Thanks for having me. It's awesome to be here, Daniel.
you're welcome, and thank you for joining me. You are the managing director and founder of Consequently Creative, and it's a brand strategy agency that helps private equity firms and portfolio companies unlock real business value through strategic branding. It's
Yep.
not just about creative design, right? There's a lot of thought that goes into this, especially when it comes to exit strategies.
I do want to clarify one thing is that, you know what? This is about taking businesses and pulling the passion out of them and allowing that business strategy, business transformation that we want for that business to grow. It's that simple, okay? It just so happens that I use the secret powers of great branding, great messaging to provide clarity. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's not so much that I'm leading with branding. No, we're leading with transformation. What we as entrepreneurs and business leaders love to hear is that, okay, we have this problem. What are we going to do to solve it? How are we going to turn this thing around? What is the effort that's required? Well, there's a lot of effort required. And we use branding, messaging, clarity, alignment, etc. to make that happen.
Very good. So curious, maybe a little off topic, but how often are you at a dinner party where you tell somebody what you do and they're like, "Oh, so you design logos?"
Exactly. Well, I mean, yes, that is unfortunately the misconception around marketing that it's about logos. But one step further with that is that the other misconception that I fight a lot is that for some reason people have equated creativity with risk. So business
Mm,
people don't think that creativity is the main driver or isn't something that should be top of mind,
hmm.
and they're wrong.
What was that defining moment for you where you were like, "Hey, branding isn't just about being creative, but it was a financial lever that impacts, exits."
Well, I started. Well, I have somewhat of a background in finance, having worked for like companies like J.P. Morgan and stuff. Um, and I've always had this interest in marketing. So, when I finally started Consequently Creative, one of my first clients was a private equity company, and they needed help with one of their portfolio companies, and we did it and all that stuff, and it was a very successful project. But what I witnessed during that project was really remarkable and very, very different. It wasn't about making something look better for the look. It was about making something look better with the understanding that that had a very, very deep impact on the company. And it allowed the valuation of that company to go up ultimately. And I had a managing director, at a private equity firm turn to me and say, "Hey, I gave you an $80 million company. You make it look like 120." So we started thinking about that. We started specializing and saying, "Okay, well, this is cool. How can we be even better at this?" And there's a whole story that we uncovered around that.
Hmm. Now, were you an art major in school, or how did you know you had a knack for design and branding?
Well, I think I've been a designer since childhood.
Yeah.
It's been a deep passion since, I mean, I don't really, I could answer that question for hours, and I don't know how to answer that question, but I guess I'll try to be absolutely short. I'm into the magic that businesses need to thrive. And what I mean by magic is that you need to, in marketing, you use different elements to create magic. It's not a headline. It's not a great photography. It's not great video. It's the combination of those things that makes magic.
Hmm.
And I've always been fascinated with that. I'm fascinated with how things work, but I'm fascinated with how you can take a product or a company that is conventional and craft a remarkable story around it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's awesome, and I wanna hear some really great examples, here in
Sure.
a second, but let's start big. In January, you did a case study where, you showed how a strategic brand refresh helped a portfolio company add millions in enterprise value. What mechanics are at work here?
Well, it's kind of like, well, it serves to go back, right, and understand what the opportunity is. It's like post acquisition, right? There is a short time period where branding marketing can come in and solve a lot of issues and a lot of things going on, right? So the way you grow a company is by getting alignment internally and then crafting a strategy externally that follows your business objectives, right? We want to
Mhm,
sell more widgets. We need alignment for that to happen. And then we need a strategy. And usually that strategy is understanding what your audience needs, providing that solution and communicating effectively around that solution. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that acquisitions usually happen under the cloak of secrecy. Well, there's a
mhm,
big problem there. That means that the company that's getting acquired, and most importantly, the people within that company don't know what's happening absolutely.
mhm.
And we've experienced it before. You get brought into a conference room and they're like, "Hey, everybody here, you're staying here, and we are
Yeah,
now a different company. We're replacing the CEO, et cetera, et cetera." And there's these big movements that happen. And you know, leads to something that we call acquisition turbulence,
mhm,
where all of a sudden a lot of things are changing and it's a shock to the system. Some people are okay with it, like with turbulence on a plane. Some people are fine, but other people are not okay with turbulence at all. And they're totally afraid and they hold onto the seat and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I hope this plane doesn't go down," right? Same
mhm.
thing with with a company post acquisition. "Oh my gosh, what does this mean to me?
For
Should I
sure.
brush off my resume? Should I get a new job? Am I going to like what's going on? This is super confusing, et cetera, et cetera." And it has a huge impact on the culture of that company. So, what do we do? What we do is that we get hired by these companies to go in and understand what the company stands for, craft a story that explains why they are remarkable, why they got acquired, what the future is for them, what the opportunities are, etc. And you end up celebrating this company. And sometimes we do a redesign. Sometimes we do a
Yeah,
brand refresh. Sometimes we go in and we start crafting a story that they didn't absolutely have before, like understanding what their values are, what all the reasons to believe in that company. A lot of older manufacturing companies that are great, they're built by, older generations and Gen X included, who didn't see the value in, having all that said, right?
for sure.
Um, and that's changed, and that needs to be communicated effectively.
That's the wait, man, you're speaking to me on
I'm
that.
sorry, I'm dumping so much on you
No,
right now.
no, that really spoke to me because I have been at a company and I'm not gonna give their names out, but they are a publicly traded company. They got acquired by another publicly traded company. There was about I think we had 2,000 people working there, and the way they handled that was horrible.
Yeah.
When the word came through, people like had boxes under their desks. They're like, I don't know. I think we might not be here in a week or two. And this is gonna blow you away. The way people found out that they got to keep their job was they were in this big building, high rise, they had a basement. And they had everybody into this basement, all all the people from this building. And they said,
Okay.
okay, now here's the deal. Not everybody's gonna be here tomorrow to know if your job is safe. There's different teams on the wall. Go see if you can find your name on the wall, and if you can, your job is safe. Think about that.
Yeah.
And this is a publicly traded company that
Yeah.
didn't give a lot of thought to what that does. So what ultimately happened was there were a lot of people that were pissed off. There were a lot of people that didn't like how it was handled. They lost a lot of people that they wanted to keep. It was just a horrible, horrible way to handle it. But you don't let that happen.
No, no. And you know what? Business leaders are quite ineffective at communicating this
For
stuff
sure.
correctly. And it's not their fault. They just don't know how to do it.
Right.
This isn't something that's taught in business school, right?
No.
So, but when you communicate in a timely manner, there's a few things that happen. Your top talent doesn't jump ship. You also start crafting a story where people get excited about what's going on,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes you'll also identify the junior team member who absolutely cares and has so much potential and is actually going to help you go forward. That person raises their hand. Um, and then you start attracting the right talent to grow your company, and you start having a better sales process, a better story. You start attracting the right audience to make your sales happen. It's a win-win for everybody, obviously, and of course, it pays for itself. But it's quite fascinating when you pivot with small adjustments to make your portfolio company, the acquired company, set up for success.
So I'm curious when somebody is thinking about selling or shouldn't say selling, purchasing
Mhm.
another company, like how soon should you be in the mix?
Um, I think as soon as post-acquisition, right away, Um, there have been times where we've found out about things before
Mhm.
an acquisition and we're getting ready. But yeah, post-acquisition, you wanna do it as soon as possible so you're not just being too disruptive.
Mhm. Makes sense. So
Yeah.
let's say at exit, what does a strong brand signal to buyers in a way that boosts confidence and offer price?
Well, it offers clarity, okay? Clarity is not a luxury in private equity. It's the lever that, if you pull it early and you pull it often, you're gonna be able to have people relate to you on a deeper level, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna want to understand more. It also allows you to move faster and more efficiently, because your message is clear. We
Yeah.
get it. These people stand for this. Here's a great story about this company. Here's something absolutely remarkable about it. Those things are are so helpful, um, for the simple reason that a company doesn't just stand for something on paper. It's not just about your sales. It's not just about the accounting side of the business. It's about so many other things because as humans, we relate to each other on deep levels, right? And
Mhm.
and I know this is B2B, but I think that B2B is very much the same as B2C, as when you go to the supermarket and you buy a product. The reason why you buy this product is because it appeals to you on a deeper level, right? So, in the case of an acquisition or the exit of a company, why wouldn't you want to make the cover of that company or the logo or the story or the passion or all the little details that are really um fun and can, allow you to connect with that company on a deeper level? Why wouldn't you bring that to the forefront? It's
For sure.
easy. Just do it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess from your experience, you've probably seen a lot that haven't. What's a great war story you have that you're really proud of?
Well, I mean, it's always interesting to get people to understand how things are evolving. I have a company that one of our clients right now, that we've been working with for a while, a remarkable company called McDonnell. Ceramics. And this is a company that um, is from Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is where, old school American industry started. It's the it's a very important part of the evolution of the American industrial engine, if you want. Um, and so there's this history in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is also an area that has needed to reinvent itself and is thriving as a city. So much technology, so many startups there, so much. It's very, very cutting edge these days. And we were dealing with this company that does ceramics, hardened ceramics. The type of ceramics that you might have at the tip of a rocket ship or something like that. And you know, at first look, they're pretty conventional. And we went in and redesigned them entirely, gave them really good stories, um, tried to understand what they stand for at their core. Like, what do they care about the most? Why do these engineers work there? Right?
Mm.
What are these engineers passionate about? And we're able to really craft a beautiful story. And like the in sales, the need engineers wanting to talk to engineers, that was something fantastic. And it really kind of started a foundation for the company t- from being focused on ceramics to where they are today, post two or three acquisitions from that have happened since we started, where now they have become a advanced materials company. It's not just ceramics. Now it's glass. Now it's sapphire, et cetera, et cetera. And you know, allowing the company to really thrive and expand into other markets, and have the clarity that's going to bring them forward. We ultimately gave them brand strategy, and this isn't fluff, right?
Mhm.
Brand strategy is the operating system that allows a company to have a very, very strong voice. Instead of having 12 different voices, it has one really, really strong voice.
That's good. So you did you interview the engineers, or how'd you
Absolutely,
know?
yeah. We do a very deep dive, where we interview everybody from sales to the engineers to the business leaders. We want run workshops, branding workshops, messaging workshops, where we try to understand what the culture of the company is. It's not just about what they do and what the output is. It's about who does it and why they do it, and trying to find those deeper reasons to believe in the company. Yeah, so it's interviews. We interview customers as well. It's workshops, crafting all that. And the more you do that, Daniel, the more you get buy-in from all these people within the company who are witnessing what's going on, and they're part of what's going on. It's not a matter of just
Mm.
saying, "Hey, here you go. Here's what you stand for now." That wouldn't work. It's really creating that two-way street, and that relationship between the acquired company, the private equity company, and its customers.
Yeah, that I can see how that would be such a huge benefit that companies should absolutely take advantage of for somebody that can do what you do. Because, like you said, you don't want to lose your best employees, right? You want to
No.
retain them, and if they feel undervalued or they're just a number all of a sudden, you really soften the blow and you show that, hey, we do believe in you. That's awesome. I'm curious. You mentioned workshops. Like, what goes on in these workshops? Let me.
Um, they're always different, but you try to get people to talk, and some of it's improvisation. Um, you make it fun. You give them an experience ultimately, and you allow people to talk about something that they usually don't talk about. Right? What does it
Mm.
feel like working here? Those are things that you never ask, and they're
I'm
like, "Well,
guessing
what?
you.
What do you mean?"
I'm guessing you have the managers out of the room when you're saying that, and upper
Yes. Oh,
leadership.
often, sure. And it depends on the dynamics of a company, but sometimes the CEO cannot be part of a workshop because some people aren't comfortable speaking in front of a CEO. Or maybe
Right.
they, so you wanna make sure that you have fertile ground so somebody who has an idea can voice that idea. And very often, it's the person who's the most quiet in the room.
Yeah. That's the thing. You want them to be able to speak out and not be like, "Ooh, I can't say this because my boss is right over there." Right? And you can get the truth to it. Otherwise, you're just gonna get fluff and probably it'd be a disservice, right? You couldn't really make
Yeah.
it and do your part to your best ability. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I know there's a lot of different types of personalities in business, in corporations. For example, CFOs, they seem to be a lot more analytical than most. How let's say you're speaking to a CFO and they're part of the decision-making process to hire you. How would you define brand to a CFO when they associate everything typically to budget and ROI and spreadsheets?
Um, well, it's always difficult. I mean, it's always difficult to communicate to people who are not used to marketing or don't view what you see. But I think there is a opportunity to have somebody focus on why they do things and why they care rather than what they do.
Mhm.
And everybody's interesting. Everybody has passion. It's a matter of uncovering what that passion is, and talking about it because it matters. It just matters. And we want to find out what matters. In many cases, when you don't nurture a story, the wrong story thrives, you know? Um, I had a situation years ago, and this is before my company, but when I was working for an agency where we were working with this senior living company, and they had a lot of senior living centers throughout the U.S. and their primary focus was the resident, and all their marketing focused on the resident. And they said, "Listen, we need to have photography of the rooms. We need to show what's on the menus in the restaurant. We need to make them feel at home, and we need to talk about the activities we do and all that stuff." That's who our audience is. That's great. That's a way of viewing things, but we
Yeah.
uncovered that that wasn't the truth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And when you uncover the truth, you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is insane. This is awesome." So the
Yeah.
truth is, with senior living, when we did our research and our deep dives like we were talking about earlier, we found out that their primary audience is the adult daughter.
Hmm.
Okay? That is the
Mm.
adult daughter for somebody who's going to transition to a senior living community, may it be memory care or long-term care or independent care, whatever. The adult daughter is the primary caregiver of her parents. In many cases, and we're calling it the adult daughter because it was like in 80% of the cases, it was the adult daughter. Um, and that's why it's their primary audience. That person is going through a transition of thinking, can I put my parents into senior living community? Can I trust this place? How do I go back to becoming a daughter again instead of a caregiver, et cetera, et cetera?
Mm.
And what's phenomenal about that story, as an example, Daniel, is that it changed everything when it came to how they talk to their customers, how they market. Now the marketing didn't only focus on menus and what the community looks like. It focused on, how do you get your parent there? Who's going to pay for it? How do you have those conversations?
Yeah.
What are the things to notice at Thanksgiving where you're like, "Oh, wait, maybe mom can't live on her own anymore," right? All of those things just changed everything. And that's what we need to do as marketers with every single project. Is we need to uncover the truth around what's gonna make this company grow. Because
Wow.
ultimately, yes, going back to what we talked in the beginning, it's about business transformation. It's about business growth. What's the story that's gonna thrive?
Wow. That's a good story. That's a really good story because I can see how a company would just be so blindsided with, "Yeah, let's show them how great the place looks," but they're not
Yeah.
speaking to the person that's putting their parents in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
such a great story. So, would you say that a lot of branding is based on emotion? Are we trying to get people emotionally invested, or what's your take on that?
I think that yes, I mean, of course, you should not ignore emotions. I think that we relate to each other on an emotional level. E Every relationship is me relating to you, right? I mean,
Mhm.
how you choose a car, how you choose a house, everything, even in a B2B setting, how you choose the company that you're gonna engage with has to do with how you were treated, all the feelings that come with it. Does it look right? Does it feel right? I mean, I know it's ridiculous to say this, but these are triggers, ROI triggers brought to you by branding. May they be intangible or tangible that you need to take into account. And
Great.
emotions are a big part of that.
So I'm curious, how far do you actually go when it comes to branding? Is it customized to the individual, or is there some things you don't do? Like, for example, are you doing like print branding, video branding? You're talking to employees. Like, how far do you go?
Um, well, I mean, I don't really know how to we go we addressed what needs to be addressed, but it's not about how far we go, it's about crafting the right strategy. If you have the right strategy and the right communication around that strategy, people can take it as far as it needs to go, right? But I wouldn't say that branding, the type of branding we do, is a print project or a web project.
Hmm.
No, it's brand strategy that happens to have a website as part of it.
Got it.
Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it comes down to the core. We try to figure out why you're doing things rather than what you're doing. We try to understand what the values are within a company that need to be made obvious that aren't obvious today.
Got it. So it's more about the message. Hey, what are we trying to convey? And then how are we going to convey it to the right people?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then whatever it takes to make that happen, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, yeah, and what's the strategy to make it happen too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. How long does, the planning process take for you? Like, when somebody's thinking about, "Hey, I just bought this company, I gotta roll it out." Like, how long does it take you guys to do your part?
Usually a few weeks,
Deep
and then
dive into it?
yeah, yeah, I mean, the initial planning, you can keep on, doing your research in the beginning phases of the project, and, I mean, we always leave some buffer in everything because ultimately being able to change your tactics under the guidance of wisdom in the heat of battle
Yeah,
is important, because you might uncover something that is totally different,
yeah. But still,
and
a
that
few
changes
weeks is
things.
fast to me. I was thinking, like, with as much as you do, the deep dive, it'd be a way longer process, but it sounds like you guys get into it fast.
Well,
It
yeah, I mean, once we're ready to hit the ground, to hit the road, we go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, let's switch topics a little bit and talk about rebranding without losing market share.
Okay.
So, in your private equity rebrand framework,
Yes.
what is the biggest mistake that silently kills trust?
Inconsistent messaging or multiple messages or not really knowing what people stand for, that is a drag on a brand. That's dragging a company down, and you might not even be aware of it.
Wow.
And some of that can be like, hey, having a headline with your internal jargon that sounds awesome, by the way, but doesn't really make sense to your audience. There's so many times where we come across these companies and we're like, wow, this is what you guys are saying, and it just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. Can you give us a real example when branding flipped market perception in multiples, or maybe a nightmare example where it didn't?
Where branding flipped market perception?
Yeah, or maybe a nightmare. Has you ever had one where it didn't quite go the way you thought it would?
Well, on something that we did?
Yes.
No, I can't really think of. I don't know. I mean, probably, but it's just not coming to mind. I mean, things that do come to mind where you have people saying something and you're just like, guys, this is ridiculous. It means nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and I love collecting, headlines that mean nothing, like
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
that say quality, integrity, and service.
Right.
What the Anybody could say that, guys. It sounds clever, and the CEO wrote it, and they're like, "Yeah, I love it. Quality, integrity, and service. That's what we stand for." Okay, everybody stands for that. Okay, you can't say that. That's not a differentiator.
Right. Or massive action. I've been hearing that one a lot lately.
Yeah,
We take massive action. What does that mean?
it means nothing.
What are some other ones that you have? I know you probably got some really, really good ones that you've got in your back pocket.
Innovating tomorrow's solutions today.
When you
Really?
point them out, it's like it does sound ridiculous, but you hear that stuff all the
Yeah, and
time.
I mean, some of them are for famous companies. Like, right now, Holiday Inn, their tagline is "New Day, New Stay." I don't absolutely know what they mean by that,
Yeah, you'll never
but
leave. Is what it
it's
sounds
not
like.
strong. It's just it's not like something that is easy to remember, and it's not remarkable enough.
Right.
You know, here's the deal: you need to strive to have a message that stands out, and you need to build authority around that message so you can claim a corner of the marketplace as your own.
Mhm.
That's what it's about. Okay? So many times people are just making these huge mistakes that are actually killing their brand. You know, calls to action that are just super weak. Learn more. Eh, Come on,
Yeah,
we can say more than that these days, or just being inconsistent in your messaging.
yeah. So, what about, the future, and how it might impact you with AI? I'm curious. I wanna bring up AI because that's my realm. That's my little echo chamber that I'm in. Um, how do you use AI right now? And if so, how do you use it? Just curious.
Yes, we absolutely use it. So I mean, AI is a tool, right? And it's the latest utility tool, and we should all use it, right? Because what did take weeks to do or hours before can take minutes, and that is absolutely worthwhile. I love the AI tools around meetings, around listening in on meetings, taking notes, synthesizing those notes. It's great for email and stuff like that. Um, that's awesome. Where I'm not absolutely trusting where AI is going is all these companies that are leading with AI. They identify as an AI company, which,
Mhm.
again, going back to messaging, I'm not sure that means anything to anybody just yet. Um, and let's not fool ourselves. It can't just be all easy, right? As entrepreneurs, I mean, you and I know that everything worthwhile is hard. There's no easy way out. There's no quick fixes. And yeah, okay, AI is easy at first, but beyond creating content and stuff, what is it, Um, is it really making the changes? And I'm not saying that there's companies that don't use it for big, big changes. There are. That's the correct way to use it.
Mhm.
But this, saying that, oh, it's great for generating content, it's great for I can do a logo with AI, I can do whatever. You're starting to rely on the commonalities that AI brings. AI is a little
Sure.
bit like Mad Libs. It finds the word, the most common word that is applicable for this particular section, and it expands on that commonality, right? And then where it isn't working is where people aren't really reacting, being a little bit lazy, like, hey, use AI to craft an email. Okay, copy, paste that in, or copy, paste that in, make some edits and send it. Okay, that's kind of using it as a one-way street. It needs to be more of a two-way street where you start crafting an email with AI, making some edits with it, go back to AI and say, hey, look at the edits I made, start understanding my tone, start understanding how I'm using AI. So now you're starting to make it better. I find that
Right.
there's very few people doing it that way.
True, because they still use it like for Google, right? It's like replacing their Google. It's a quick search with a little bit more detail. I think you're right. I think agentic AI is huge, right? It's
Yeah.
becoming autonomous. It can read, it can think, it can correct itself. I told this story the other day, but I was playing around with Zapier and I was building a
Hmm.
a workflow in there, and I used Copilot to do it, right? And I just told it what I
Yeah.
wanted, and I literally watched it go back and forth, talk to itself. Oh, that didn't
Oh,
work. Hang
really?
on a second. Let me think for a second, and you'll see dot dot dot. Dot. Okay, wait a minute. I think I have it, and you can. It's talking to you as it's doing it. I think I got it figured out, and it tried a few other routes. Oh, that didn't work. Hang on. Well, let me try this, and it fixed itself, and it and it worked, and it worked, and I was like, wow, that's autonomous AI, and it's learning from what it tries. It
Hmm.
remembers, it has a memory, so it can go back and and access that again for somebody else in the future, right? And so what I've done recently is I've taken that ability to where you can give it a brain, and we fed 600 phone calls that were coaching calls from a
Cool.
sales manager, different sales managers to their sales reps, live calls that were transcribed. We fed it into an engine for their company, and they use it for onboarding. They use it for training reps.
Hmm.
Reps can now upload a phone call they just got off of the call with, and it based on the company's sales funnel and knowledge and products, it'll tell them where they could have done better, where they missed the ship
Oh,
a
that's
little
great.
bit, and literally role play with them to make them better based on their company, products and sales process and what they want their people doing. To your point, right? That's how it's going to get amazing. I think is that kind of knowledge base, and it's secure, so it's not like somebody from outside can tap into it and access all of it. Um, but I can see where companies will have that kind of brain at every business that will have
Hmm.
instant access like that to anybody in the business, no matter what they're looking for.
I think that that's great, and I think that that's a great example where I've had problems with new technologies in the past, and well, we've all had problems, is where there aren't enough examples. I think for most people out there, they don't, beyond generating just dumb content, they don't really know how to use AI. Um, I think back to like the Segway when that came out. Oh my gosh,
Oh
we thought
yeah,
it was going to change the world. Okay, people were saying that there's going to be special Segway, manufacturing plants that are going to use Segways and stuff like that, and it's going to change the wheelchair, which it
yeah,
and
yeah.
it didn't happen. Yeah, mall cops and weird tours. Uh, that's about it, right? And I think it didn't happen, Daniel, because there weren't enough concrete, tangible examples. And then you have other technology like the smartphone. Million examples. Okay, I get it.
Right.
You don't even have to tell me how it works. I don't care how it works, by the way. It's all about the examples. But
Mhm.
with AI, the only real evolution to AI, continued evolution, will be in examples. How do you use it? How does it apply?
For sure. Yeah. And I think it's just the tip. I mean, obviously we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. I was talking to one guy the other day and he was talking that there probably more likely be an AI bubble that happens, kind of like the .com bubbles, right? Because you got Nvidia and all these people are investing in AI and it's the big gold rush. But we're a long way away from that. He's
Yeah.
so it's I think it's exciting to see. I think I saw Elon Musk say that uh he thinks eventually college degrees might even be obsolete because you'll be able to access all base knowledge like that. You just have it,
Yeah.
which will be interesting. It probably won't teach you very good social skills, but you know,
Yeah.
like you get at
But
college.
yeah, but then what's gonna replace that? I mean, that's college also is also a time for a bachelor's degree, it's 4 years of maturing away from home. It's 4
Right.
years of trying a lot of different things, having experiences, learning and witnessing different things, and ultimately evolving. I think that the need for evolution and the need for learning
Or thinking
should
how
be
to think.
yes, how to
Right.
think. It shouldn't be discredited. And you know, AI cannot replace the human experience.
Right.
You know,
Right. I wouldn't want to live in a world where that was the case. I can tell you that. It would be a very dry, boring world to me, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what we need to do is we need to still find value in humanizing relationships as much as we can, in finding interesting things to do, interesting stories to talk about, because boring just doesn't cut it anymore. I think that AI is leveling the playing field in the sense that, we're seeing this on social media right now. The combination of social media platforms with algorithms and AI generated content, it's throwing a lot of content out there.
Mhm.
It's encouraging doom scrolling, which doom scrolling at this point isn't going from topic to topic. It's skipping as many topics you can until you find something that's somewhat interesting. Okay?
Right.
Um, that's becoming exhausting. And people are
Yeah.
gonna get bored with that. And what happens? Well, those that are using their talent, trying to be innovative, thinking deeper, using ingenuity, coming up with new ideas, hopefully that's never gonna go away.
Yeah. I'll tell you what's not been boring is this conversation, Mark. I can keep
Oh,
going and going.
thank
I got
goodness.
so much more to ask you because I think what you do is extremely fascinating. But I do have a few more things that I definitely want to make sure before we end that people know how to get a hold of you for your services because I think it's of huge value to any business looking
Thank you.
to buy or to better their brand. But before we do, if a CEO right now suspects their brand is let's say suppressing index in value, what are three actions they should take this week?
They need to make their value obvious with clarity instead of cleverness.
Mm,
They need to pick a lane that they can be an expert in instead of talking about everything.
that's good advice.
And they need to understand that their message is not for them, but it's for their buyer.
That is solid advice. Nice. Nice, Mark. Spoken from a man who obviously has done this and done it very well for a really long
Thank you.
time. Mark, if our listeners that are watching, they want to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you to talk about their brand health?
So our website is consequentlycreative.com. You can also Google my name, Marcrust. Don't spell my name with a K or I won't want to talk to you. Um, I'm also on Instagram, and it's Marc Rust or at Consequently Creative on Instagram.
Mark, it's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot about branding.
Thank
It's
you.
got me second guessing some of my branding where I just have a coffee mug. So, like
Come on, it's
good,
great.
good. Hey, Vista Print. What can I say? Right? They gave it to me for free, but it really was very enlightening. And thank you so much. I hope this isn't the last time that we have you on. As you grow and as we grow, I'd love to have you on as another guest again, maybe for a different topic. But definitely
Sure.
great
Thank
talking
you.
to you, Mark. And you have a great rest of your day. And thanks for being on Agent X podcast.
Thanks for putting this together, Daniel.